Today is the perfect day to write, so let's do just that. Turn off your phone, close the door, put on headphones, get your notebooks out. Why? Because we are going to write. Hello, early friends, welcome back to the Virtual Writing Academy, where we learn by writing and by doing. This time around I have a very special writing exercise for you. Today we're going to be dealing with magic systems from the point of view of someone immersed within this magical craft. But before I go anywhere though, allow me to explain the format of this show for those of you who are unfamiliar with the way that we go about doing things. This video here is not a writing lecture. You're not gonna learn by listening to me, sitting on my butt, telling you what to do or what not to do when it comes to writing. Instead, I'm gonna give you a writing exercise. I'm going to give you a couple of musical recommendations and a good chunk of time to sit down and actually write. There will be time in this video that is actually slotted for you to sit down and actually write. And when the time is over, we'll sit down and come back together and talk about our experiences. There is a little bit of a hidden lesson within this exercise, but I will not tell you what it is until the end. So now you know how we do things, so go back and get ready. Go pick up your notebook or open up your writing software of choice. You can minimize this video if you like. I'll tell you when to bring it back up. While you get ready, let's go and talk about today's musical writing recommendations. As I've always said, music is an integral part of my creative process, and I am never writing without music in the background. So I wanted to give you a little extra. You know, if you like to write with music, then I have you covered. This time around, I'm recommending one of my writing playlists. For those of you who don't know, I make writing playlists over at atracks.com/mkieran. Links to it in the description below. Today's writing mix recommendation is Mermaid Magic, because it's got mermaids and magic. That's all you need to know about it. It's underwater awesomeness. Go check it out. Now, the big meat and potatoes of today's writing recommendation. Now, for those of you looking for a little bit more of a little extra challenge, today's secondary music recommendation is a single track, just like last week's, and it's a remix of one of my favorite video game songs of all time, Shala's theme from Chrono Trigger, my #1 song to write to of all time. And this remix is awesome. What is it called? It's called Memories Lost in Time. Shala's theme is a very powerful and amazing song for me because it has this enormous idea of wonder, and it's not only like a timeless song and an incredibly remixable song, but it's about magic. It's the song of a particular magical character within the world of Chrono Trigger. So I thought, what better song to show you? And this remix is actually really awesome. It's a remix of that song and another really good song, and I find that this remix has a very good feeling of wonder, and it feels magical. I think that it would be really hard to write like a really dark magic system to this particular song, but if you want to write something with a huge sense of wonder to it, like a grand time of magic, then go take this song. In the description below, I have 2 links for this song. You can listen to it on repeat, or you can actually download the song and have it in your musical library. And now, for the time being, feel free to pause the video and get ready. Go check out that awesome song and that playlist and get them rolling and ready to go, okay? I assume you have unpaused the video by now and you're all ready to go, so let's dive right in. As always, allow me to give you the formal disclaimer and remind you that you are not only allowed, but welcome to use your own characters for this particular exercise. If you are looking to add a magical system to your story or to expand upon one that already exists within your fantasy or science fiction or supernatural world, feel free to do just that. Even if you need to go beyond the writing limit, it's entirely fine. Just make sure to come back at the end of your writing session. With all of those things said, let's dive right in. What is today's exercise called? The Heart of the Mage. You will have 10 minutes to write from the point of view of a character who happens to be a master magic wielder, as they explain to their students how their magic works. The catch? This magic system is rooted in emotions. That's right, today you're gonna have 10 whole minutes to write from the point of view of a character who is the master of this particular magical craft, as they explain how it works to their students. I didn't want this to be like a brainstorming exercise. I don't want you to just be like coming up with ideas and fact. I want you to be writing, from the point of view of someone explaining this. Now, some of you may be thinking, Max, what's up with that catch? Well, allow me to explain. Today's writing exercise has a very particular catch, okay? The only limitation that I'm placing upon you and your story in this particular, writing session you're about to have is this. This magic system is rooted in emotions. What does that mean? What does it imply? What limitations and what sort of perks does a magical system like this have? That's all up to you. That's right. I found this over the past, okay? And it's the idea that brainstorming is incredibly impossible when you don't have limitations. So what's the best way to go about doing things? I'm going to limit you. This magic system has something to do with emotions. Are emotions the source of the magic? Or are emotions the side effect of the magic? Or are they the fuel? Or are they something else? Explore this idea, the idea of a system of magic that is rooted in emotion. People tell me all the time, all the ideas are taken. No, they're not. Watch, as everyone who does this exercise will come up with something entirely different. Think about it, explore this idea, and consider, how would emotions be magic? Or how would magic become emotion? Again, don't treat this like a brainstorming exercise. Treat this as a writing exercise. Come in and write from the point of view of this character, because they hold all the answers. All you gotta do is follow them. And as always, I'm gonna give you the first line of the story, so you don't have to worry about getting the first line right. You can just jump in and start writing from this character's point of view, okay? This story, the very first line of this story, goes a little like this. My students, there is one thing you must know above all, and that is... Now go, brave writer, seek to enter the mind of this character, seek to see the world through their eyes and to explain, not only to you, but to their students, how their magic works. Do they even know what are the intricate little things that explain their magic system, or is it merely just arcane to them? Can they even give an explanation to the fire within their own emotions? Or could it be that maybe, just maybe, they have managed to master the art of the heart? 60 seconds remaining. Alright, time's up, pencils down, fingers off the keyboard. If you minimize this video, please bring it back up. And now let's take a deep breath. This exercise was a little weird. I think it was. It was definitely a little bit weird. But what I wanted you to do is to look at a different way to create magic systems. Because I find that people usually focus on brainstorming and to thinking of all the facts before they start writing. And in my experience, if you've been following my videos, you know exactly what I'm about to say. The act of writing is the act of discovery. And as you're writing, you discover things about the world you're writing, the characters you're writing about, and the things that they do. And I have found that excessive amounts of outlining and planning tends to get in the way of the story. So over time, I decided to just let the characters explain the world to me, and that includes the magic systems of whatever particular, world, fantasy world, or sci-fi world, or supernatural world I'm writing about. So again, I thought that instead of making you brainstorm, which of course would be kind of adding on to the pile of outlining, I thought, let's put you in the story. Let's put you in a situation where you have to see the world and to tell a story from the point of view of a character who has to explain this. Do they even know how the magic system works? Do they even admit it as fact, or is it really just the arcane for them? Is there a way to understand that, or is it just a mystery? It's hard. It's interesting coming up with magic systems, and I will explain the reason behind the catch in a moment. But magic systems are very interesting because I find that people do a lot of planning and brainstorming and outlining and planning in advance to prevent themselves from having issues in the story later on. But of course, as I've said in the past, the act of writing is the act of discovery, and as you're writing, things change, and things go out of hand. So again, I think that a lot of excessive planning kind of tends to be counterproductive because the story is going to change. And you may be asking yourselves, but Max, I want to get things right the first time. You kind of can't. This all boils down to the act of revision, and, again, as I've always said, writing a whole story and then getting to revise it and being able to spot the little details and get to fix the little details, such as contradictions within a particular magic system, is all part of the craft. We don't get things right the first time, but people forget that you don't have to get them right the first time. Actually, nobody does. You assume that those fantasy writers that you read about and you love came up with all these things in advance, and they didn't. That, like, this story was not born like this. It was, written and revised and edited and feedbacked until it became the thing that you read in book form. So if anything, consider this another reminder to not worry too much about the first draft and to, tell the story first and then worry about patching up the contradictions and the plot holes of your magic system. No, all that boring stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes of this, pseudo end slate of this video, and it's the idea of the catch. Why did I give you that really, really strange catch? Why would a magic system be based on emotions? And that was because of two reasons. The first one was because I get this all the time. I get questions all the time from people telling me that they want to come up with an original magic system. And in my personal experience, I found that original magic systems are always kind of like a byproduct. Like, I realize they're original until after I made them. Like, I don't come in wanting to make an original magic system. I always come in wanting to tell a story. And from there on, whatever everything else happens is just a byproduct of that. And I know that sounds a little bit weird to say, but, that's my personal experience. Now, with those things said, why emotions? And this is really closely related to the idea of where stories come from and where story ideas or ideas in general come from. And as I've talked in the past, I think that ideas come into being or rather discovered into being, when you find the link between two things that seemed entirely unrelated. And that's the origin of all ideas, by the way. All ideas can be boiled down to something plus something else, or something minus something else. It's always a relationship between two objects, and this is where all ideas come from. It's the matter of looking at something and saying, hey, what if this? And that within itself is the seed of a story. It's the point, it's the reason behind all of the prompts that I've been doing for years on my blog. And I wanted to show you that you could come up with your own new, interesting way of doing things by simply connecting one thing to another. Emotions? Something rather human, rather mundane actually, the center of all the things we do, plus magic. How did you do it? How did you do it, writerly friend? Did you have emotions be the fuel for magic? What are the implications of that? How does that exactly work? And what happens when a person has no more emotions left? Or rather, what if you had the emotions be the side effect of magic? Like only magical people can have emotions because that is the after effect of releasing magical energy. Again, what are the implications of that? And ultimately, and of course there's countless other ideas. These are like the first two polar opposites that I can come up with. But you know, there's countless of ways of doing things. Why? Because it's all about the ways of shifting about two different traits, two different things that are meeting together to come up with an idea. I know that it's a little bit misty and a little bit arcane, but that's the origin of ideas. And not only connecting two elements, but looking at them. You know, looking at them critically and asking yourself big questions. You know, what does it mean for magic to be based on emotion? And again, you can use this entire same format to come up with endless numbers of stories and with endless numbers of magic systems. Take something else, and see how they work together and what implications come from them and what big questions you can draw. Because again, these alone could be the entire seed from which thousand stories spring from. It's all a matter of connecting the dots, seeing the relationships, and asking the big questions. I hope that helps, and I hope that if anything, I've given you another way to go about looking at things, and another way to consider magic systems. I don't think that there's a lot of like hard rules that people throw about magic systems, and I don't subscribe to any of those because I don't think there are hard rules for writing. So I hope that helps, and I hope that if anything, I've given you another way to go about doing things. As always, feel free to go down in the comments below and share your feedback, your thoughts, and your writing. I want to see what you have to say, and as always, I welcome your feedback, and if you have ideas for future episodes, feel free to let me know. And again, if you would like even more writing content, such as writer positivity, prompts, and writing advice, you can head over to my official writing blog over at maxkieran.tumblr.com. Thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I'll be seeing you soon! Mwah!